Sounds pretty good, right? And better yet, it's easy to learn. So, let me show you how to play it. Right, so to start, you want your left hand 2 octaves below middle C, with your little finger on the C at the bottom, third finger on E, second finger on G, and thumb on A. These are the 4 notes that make up our first pattern, so remember them, get them stuck in your head, maybe take your hand away and put them back again just so they're memorized. And here is the pattern you need to learn. It goes C, C, E, C, G, C, A, G. It's a little bit of a curveball at the end, but we start with 2 Cs, and then E, C with 3rd to 5th, G to C, and then A to G. There's sort of 4 parts to that. C, C, E, C, G, C, A, G. See how it starts to come together already? So start nice and slow. See if you can repeat that just a few times. This isn't nice and slow. This is just me giving an example. Now, there's something missing from what you heard earlier, and that's swing. At the moment, I'm playing this what's called straight, where everything is really even. And it's actually kind of difficult to do it while I'm thinking about the word swing. Now, swing sounds like this. Now, that is made up by having a long note followed by a short note and a long note followed by a short note within the same amount of time as 2 straight notes would have fit. So the way you can think about this, and I sort of go about this in 2 ways, is you've got long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. If you've got that in your head, you can sort of create the rhythm yourself. Long, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. That's really confusing. Or you go my preferred method, which is Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby, because the scoo bit is the long bit and the B bit is the short bit. Scooby-Dooby, Scooby-Dooby. And you sort of see how that fits immediately. Now, of course, you don't need to be saying it out loud as you play. It might be helpful though while you learn it. And once you've got the idea of swing in your head, you won't have to think about it at all. Just, it's going to help you for now get that concept that not every note has to be nice and strict and straight. Right, so that's pattern 1, we need pattern 2. Now, the lovely thing about this particular blues bass line is the fact that that pattern just shifts up. So if your little finger is on F, 3rd on A, 2nd on C, and thumb on D, all fingers the same distance apart as we just had in the original position, and now we play the exact same pattern with the exact same fingers, just on a different set of notes. So now it's F, F, A, F, C, F, D, C. So that's pattern 2. So we had pattern 1 at C, and pattern 2 at F. Now pattern 3 is, you guessed it, the exact same pattern, exact same finger positions, just shuffled onto G. So that's G, G, B, G, D, G, E, D. That's quite difficult to say out loud. But we've now got our 3 different positions. 1, 2, 3, 1. I couldn't help but go back to the first one. It sounded like it needed to complete, but you can see it's already starting to make sense. Now it's the 12-bar blues. It's the same thing that we played before, where you have to play a certain amount of those patterns a certain amount of times to get to those 12 bars. That's not 12, but it's the same order. So we'll go through it now, but hopefully you should remember it from last time, and it goes like this. So 4 of pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 of pattern 2, 2, 1, or 2 of pattern 1, 1 of pattern 4, 3. No, you can hear that my brain's breaking. Okay, let's do that again. So repeat the first pattern 4 times. Repeat the second pattern 2 times. And then the first pattern 2 times. Pattern 3 once, pattern 2 once, pattern 1 once, because then we're going to go like this. And it sounds awesome. So if you can get the left hand going, we can then move on to the chords, and I'll teach you that bit in just a moment. So 3 chords that are needed in the right hand, they go like this. Chord 1, chord 2, and chord 3. They sound quite messy, they sound quite confusing, but I promise, just practice them a few times, get them stuck in your head, and there'll be no problems playing them at all. So let's start with the first one. It's made up of 4 notes with fingers 1, 2, 3 and 4, E, G, B flat and C. As I've said before, the best way that you can sometimes learn this is to take your hand away from the piano and put it back again. Take your hand away, put it back. The more you can do this, the more you can train your fingers where those notes particularly are. So that's chord 1, and that fits with any time the left hand is playing this, with the little finger on C. So every time you hear the C, you can play the chord. Sounds good. Now, the next chord, in fact, is G, A, C and E flat. 1, 2, 3 and 4. Quite a jazzy chord. And same thing, take your hand away, put it back again. Oh, missed it. And train your fingers. And then train your fingers to go between chord 1 and chord 2. And chord 2 plays every time that the left hand is playing the F pattern, or pattern 2. Sounds pretty good. And then we've got chord 3, and that's with F, G, B and D. Same thing again, F, G, B and D, 1, 2, 3 and 5 this time. And we want to make sure that's practiced, and then go around all 3 chords without the left hand. Because then we know exactly where all the notes are, and that pattern plays with pattern 3 in the left hand. Sounds pretty good. So let's join them all together and see what we've got. So it's chord 1 with pattern 1. Chord 2 with pattern 2. Back to chord 1 and pattern 1. Chord 3, pattern 3. Chord 2, pattern 2. And then chord 1, pattern 1. And then remember what I did last time? We had this. And that's just chord 3 in the right hand with an octave of G and G in the left. If you can't do octaves because it's a bit too much of a stretch, just play a low G and it will still sound pretty good. So when you're practicing this, play it really slowly. Always aim to get nice, clean, even rhythms before pushing both hands together at any sort of speeds. But once you've got it, it's going to sound pretty good. Okay, so it's time for your practice for the week, and this week I want you focusing on that left hand. The left hand is the key priority in getting this piece sounding great. So step 1 is to get that left hand so confident that you could essentially keep playing it while you're having a conversation and it still knows what it's doing. It doesn't need to be particularly fast, but make sure it's steady so that when you add in the right hand, you're not going to be rushing or slowing down just because the chords are joining in. Don't forget you can start it on a straight rhythm before progressing to the swung rhythm with the scoobies and doobies. Step 2, of course, is to bring in the right hand. Now, the right hand can actually work on its own for this part, making sure that each of those 3 different chord positions are nice and carefully controlled. Make sure you've memorized those chords first, each individual position, and then work on the transitions between them. Very similar to how you were playing the left hand, if you can play the right hand while not really concentrating on it, then you know you've got a bit of muscle memory going on. So step 3 is to bring both hands together. Now remember, the right hand lines up with the first note of the left hand with each and every pattern, and it's going to be about making sure that that swung rhythm isn't forgotten. Start with both hands slower than you would have done with hands separately, because of course hands together means that your brain has to do so much more, and slowly speed it up. Always trying to focus on the transitions between the chords, because those will be the hardest to master. If you've got those down, then you can get the bits in between, and before long, you'll have the whole piece sorted. So let me know how you got on in the comments below, but if you like this video, give it a like. If you want to see more of this sort of content, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to make sure you're notified for when each one of these lessons come out, 10 AM on Saturday mornings, apart from when the files get corrupted, then hit that notification bell. And I'll see you next time.